AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
Welcome to the AI in Action podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. Today, we're delighted to have Sergey Sukhanov on the show. Sergey is the co-founder of AI Superior. Welcome to the show, Sergey.
Thanks for inviting me.
Sergey, can you give a bit of a brief overview about yourself and also a little bit about what AI Superior does?
Indeed, I'm from AI Superior, a company that delivers AI and machine learning solutions to customers around the world. So we are focusing on specific solutions that satisfy customer needs, basically that address customer challenges. If we are talking about myself and my path to AI and ML, so it started long ago during my undergrad studies. And at that time, I got really inspired by the ability of machine to perform smart decisions. And then basically I dived into this domain, worked as a data scientist for many years, and then discovered an amazing world of data, algorithms, and technology in general. I can say that I still have a lot of excitement when looking at how AI solve real business problems, and this is something that drives me every day.
Brilliant, Sergey. Can you tell us a little bit about people HR analytics for those who don't know much about them, and why do we need it?
Sure. So one remark to this, there are many names of this type of analytics. So people analytics, workforce analytics, talent analytics, HR analytics. So all these terms are often used interchangeably. Though these terms have their own connotation and meaning, so I suggest to stick to people analytics, assuming all these types, because in the end, it's all about people, right? So people analytics is a data-driven approach to understand people, analyze their problems or intentions, discover their skill sets, to basically enable data-driven decision-making, answer critical questions about your organization, and generally to manage people at work. So today we have huge amount of people data. And if we are talking about HR function, for example, there is a plenty of data collected, for example, by HR platforms. And these platforms are deployed practically to all companies nowadays. And so these platforms might include data like demographic employee data, payroll data, social network data, performance data, for example. And another type of data that is available practically for everyone is external data. This might include, for example, labor market data, population data, job descriptions, skills ontologies, and dictionaries describing professional occupations, for example. So it all exists and usually available in many different languages, so we have a lot of potential in that field. If we are talking about basic questions that we can answer with people analytics in HR domain, for example, this could be, for example, which employees will be the most likely to leave your company within a year? Or which training should be offered to your employees and what impact it will bring to company revenue, for example? Or which candidates will be high-performing employees if it comes to hiring process and why? So which skills they possess that are required for this particular position?
This is fantastic. So tell me how, let's say we have an employer and they're concerned that somebody may leave. How would you know this?
So, of course, you need first to understand which kind of data you have to answer these questions, because if you don't have particular data that is able to reveal this, you're not able to answer this. So sometimes companies are collecting not only like static demographic data, but of course they collect their performance reviews data. They collect some, some other reviews and questionnaire. They provide questionnaire to their employees, and this information is aggregated and then analyzed by the machine. And then basically there are indicators that the machine can see to say that the person is maybe not satisfied with the condition of work because during the performance review there were particular words or particular things that he or she mentioned basically. And this could be an indicator to the machine that the person is is looking for something else, looking for another job, looking to leave, or wants to have better conditions or things like this. So this is all different kind of data, maybe unstructured data. And the challenge here is to basically bring this data into structure and let the machine understand this.
So Sergey, since it is about people data and now we have quite severe GDPR in place, how difficult is it to work with such data? And generally, can we rely on this data to draw conclusions about people, their skills, etc.? Because it's probably a little bit of a trade-off.
Exactly. Obviously, teams that work with such kind of data need to operate within the data privacy laws of their countries. So in many countries, personal employee data comes under GDPR. So there are many restrictions on this. And to put it short, there are a few of them that I wanted to mention here. First of all, this data must be properly secured and protected from threats. Second, employer should demonstrate and inform that the data it has collected is necessary for the purpose for which it was collected. So there is no misuse of this data. And personal data might not be kept for longer than needed and must be revoked basically upon request. Of course, there is also ethical aspects that should be taken into consideration. Sometimes models are built on subjective or incomplete data, and this might lead to a strong bias, for example, based on a gender. So data teams should build responsible analytics for account for this. And this is extremely important, provided that there are many open questions to ethical aspects in artificial intelligence in general. And of course, there is an acceptance factor. So many people think that people analytics might lead companies to reduce individuals to numbers. So this fear is quite understandable. And our task and job as data scientists, basically not to let the machine to reduce bonuses or fire people according to its automatic decision-making process, but rather bring insights and support corresponding people to make reasonable decisions.
Thank you, Sergey. Could you give me an example from your experience how you've applied analytics and which results did you bring? Maybe some case studies.
Sure. So just to mention, people analytics is one of the key direction of our company. So we see a lot of potential and market demand on this. And I would just give you an overview of two recent use cases that we had with our customers. So for the first one, we developed a solution for online recruiting platform that is focusing on remote workforce. So for them, we developed a component that was performing company to candidate recommendation according to a similarity score that we designed. So basically, an applicant was recommended to a company, and the company was recommended to the applicant according to various factors, including skills, experience, time zone, market state, and so on. So this allowed companies to directly see best matches and not scroll over thousands of pages looking for the best fit and so on. So for applicants, there is also an advantage. It was making them comfortable to apply to a company, knowing already that there is a high degree of fit on this initial stage, basically. Another recent project that we had in this domain was related to skills analytics. So here the goal was to identify how business critical people of a huge corporation with thousands of people distributed around the world stand with respect to their successors. So mainly what was interesting is to identify a skill gap on different levels of skill hierarchy. So for that, at first we designed ontology of skills based on data available from the job boards and other open information in the web. So we were able to identify skills relationships and established 3-level ontology, where the first level could be, for example, financial skills category. Then the second level could be, for example, accounting. And the third level was particular skills, for example, credit risk assessment. So then we got employee data from the customer. The data was unstructured text with position descriptions, notes on employee skills that were explicitly or implicitly mentioned. And basically, then we had to come up with analytics to extract skills names from all this data. So for this, we created an NLP-based component that was able to find skills from unstructured text. Important feature of this component was that it was able to extract not only explicit skill names, but also implicit. Just to give you an example, If it was written, ability to write code, and then it was written somewhere programming. So both these things were extracted and mapped to the same skill called programming. So after we have extracted all the skills and brought them to the hierarchy, then we were able to create such kind of tree-like skills profiles that were nicely consumable, basically thanks to the tree structure of them. And basically, it allowed us to set up a framework that enabled comparison of skills of employees on basically different hierarchy levels, and identify also the skill gaps on different levels, including the last level with individual skills. So the analytics we delivered was extremely important for the customer, since it was providing direct actionable insights. First of all, they could see if there is a good match between a particular business critical person and its successors. And if not, for example, they could see if they need to hire another people on this position or not. And secondly, it could reveal the skill gap directly and identify which training should a particular successor be offered in order to be able to replace its incumbent in future.
Thank you for that. How do people analytics in these, I suppose, difficult COVID times, what kind of challenges kind of come across to, like how can we look at the impact of the changes that we're experiencing these days? Because, when we look at the kind of remote working styles, there's just new challenges that we've never faced before.
Right. So it's already clear that during these pandemic times, the value of data has increased significantly. First of all, we reduce contacts, we go remote, we interact less with our colleagues during coffee breaks and lunches, for example. So we are not able to feel emotional state and general wellness of our employees and colleagues. So we know nothing about their work-life balance. So sometimes it's hard to track productivity and assist in case support, for example, if is needed. So relevant data and insight from it is practically our only enablers to tackle this. So this is indeed a big challenge, and we should apply non-invasive solutions that would allow to answer these questions, keeping in mind, of course, ethical and privacy aspects. So another challenge that we have currently is that recruiting and hiring went fully remote, basically, right? So, and what we know from the past is that data-driven recruiting has already been proven to improve some of the common hiring KPIs, such that, for example, time to hire, cost to hire, and quality of hire. So there is no way avoiding this, and companies have to adapt to that process.
So when we actually look at the future of this area, where do you see it going in the next couple of years? Has COVID kind of fast-tracked this in some ways?
Definitely. So this COVID pandemic has accelerated a lot of processes. So you could see that people went completely remote. So we have more online interactions. We have more tools that help us to stay productive, to interact, to do our daily jobs. And of course, these tools are able to provide insights for people who are responsible to assess the performance, to support employees and so on. So this is, I think, the direction that is already defined, and there is no way back because this is the way we will be living for the next years.
You've been listening to the AI in Action podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus International. Our guest today has been Sergey Sukhanov, and Sergey is the co-founder of AI Superior. Sergey, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks a lot for inviting.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.